pick off a few more probes. And now as soon as the Void Ray comes, I hightail it out of there, because Banshee versus Void Ray is never fun. And I bring that Banshee back to my base to live and fight another day. I always try and keep expensive units like that alive. So back at my base, I'm just building up a tank Marine army right now. Later on, I will start producing many Hellions. Hellions are a great unit against Protoss, especially if their army composition is very gateway intensive. Now, if you look at him, his income is off the charts. He's just scaling up right now. Getting a ton of income going. He's got both these expansions. He's able to chrono boost and build probes out of all 3 Nexi and really get a roaring economy. And now, I'm moving out to take my third, getting a nice spread on my tanks. I don't want to be clumped up and able to be stormed. And he actually sends his first Void Ray over to my base, but I have a turret and a sensor tower up at my natural, just to make sure that nothing like that happens. I didn't want to be surprised. I knew he was getting Void Rays. And I also got a few Vikings just out of my 2 starports. I actually added a second starport when I saw him transitioning into Void Rays. So now I'm building my 3rd command center, continuing to macro up, continuing to add siege tanks and Hellions. And right now, I feel like I'm behind. I feel like he's overwhelming me a little bit. I know he took that early 3rd. So really, it's up to me to fight my way back into this game. And the strategy that I was formulating in my head was that, hey, this map is somewhat similar to Lost Temple. I'm going to go ahead and get a medevac, and I'm going to do a standard, old-school, Brood War-esque tank drop on his ledge, and make that work for me, and bring my Banshee and my Raven, just in case, if I need to pick off any observers or anything like that. And also, the Vikings and the Banshee, excuse me, Rays, Vikings and Banshee can cover my drop while it's in effect, so pretty soon here I'm going to head out with that. I load up 2 siege tanks into my medevac, and I head all the way around the top of the map to go do some damage, because really I haven't done anything offensive since early on with my Banshee, and I know I need to make something happen to put him on his back foot. And he's actually got a few Void Rays mixed into the army, some High Templar with Storm and Immortal. He's going relatively gateway heavy, so I'm gonna keep adding siege tanks and keep getting those upgrades for my mech army. Now right here, I siege up these 2 tanks just within range of his Nexus, but he's already pulled all the probes. That was a great reaction by him. He pulls all of his probes, heads over here to his 3rd, but I am actually able to take out this Nexus and get out of there in the meantime. So I actually drop a mule to repair my Banshee. That was kind of cute. So now he heads over with his Void Rays, and I pack up and get out of there. Take a few pod shots at his Void Rays with my Vikings, but he actually manages to pick off my Raven right here, which I wasn't anticipating. Void Rays are actually very, very good at times. And now is my time to strike. I make my push right now. I've seen his army. I knew his army was relatively weak. He manages to get off some great storms right here, right in the middle of my entire army. But I have enough meat that I can take him out. And I actually land my Vikings here as well, which probably wasn't the best idea because I hadn't finished off his last Void Ray, which has about 20 hit points and can single-handedly reduce an entire Terran army to rubble. Just a single unit by itself does about 30 DPS when fully charged. Void Rays are absolutely ludicrous. You need to make sure that you have ample amounts of Viking just to take care of those Void Rays, because left unchecked, they will win games for any Protoss player. So now that I've got my 3rd up and running, I'm just adding a few production buildings here. I went ahead and got my Ghost Academy. I am building Ghosts and pumping Marines out of my other 2 Raxes, one of which has a reactor. I've also added a factory with a reactor to continuously produce Hellions, because Hellions are just a great all-around unit versus Protoss. Doing a little bit of Hellion harass here. I ran these around the map, just trying to get in there. He does a good job warping in Stalkers to block them off. And he's also got his gold up and running now, so it's really up to me to bring the hurt to him once more. He is ahead in the economic game. He's pulling away from me, and I know that I have a much larger standing army because in that last conflict, I think I came out way ahead. Managed to kill his entire army and kept a majority of my siege tanks alive, although that one Void Ray did pick off quite a few of my units. It has 14 kills, most of which were, you know, siege tanks. He also killed a medevac that had 2 siege tanks in it, so that Void Ray has been worth its weight in gold. I'm also adding ghosts right now because I know he's relying on those High Templar to get those key storms off, and you'll see here in a minute that I stay very active with my ghosts. I keep them on a separate control group, and I make sure that they are always ready to go. And if you see here, I fired a pre-EMP off on the battle, landing on all of his Immortals and most of his High Templar right before the battle actually starts. And here I feel like I have a tremendous advantage. His army is very small. I've added tons of units, and it's time for me to make my move. So I head out to the middle of the map, passing by the Xel'Naga, making sure he doesn't have control over it, sieging up just outside of his third in this key mid area. Once I control this, I control the flow of troops. I also dictate pretty much the rest of the game, and he knows that, so he GG's out in a second here. I bring the rest of my tanks up from the back, siege up at his third, and land my Vikings. So at this point, he knows there's nothing he can do about this army that I have here. This is just way too much for him to deal with at this point. And that is how you play macro-oriented mech on this new map, Delta Quadrant. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and this is PainUser signing out.